So I would like to start by introducing our first speaker, Veera Ramprasad. Mr. Ramprasad is presently in charge of management and operations and maintenance of the seawater desalination plant in Durat al-Bahrain, which includes mechanical, electrical, process systems. Mr. Ramprasad has had over 20 years of professional experience in many different areas, including management, operations, company secretarial and corporate governance, project development, owner's engineer, and energy efficiency advisory. He has in-depth understanding of the power vertical, so that's power plants, electrical, transmission, distribution, and things of that ilk, oil and gas as well, and renewable energy. And of course, utility systems, which he's taking care of at the moment. Without further ado, I'd like to give the floor over to Mr. Ramprasad. Ramprasad, the floor is yours. You're on mute. Famous words. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander, for the sweet introduction. Thank you all the assembled dignitaries, my co-speakers in the session, and all the dignitaries and the participants. Today, I'm going to speak on the topic role of independent power producers in accelerating renewable energy. And the presentation will be focusing primarily on the Gulf countries of the Middle East Asia. It has 6 sections. The presentation is made up of 6 sections. What are the key drivers for renewable energy in Gulf cooperation countries? What are the strategies for mainstreaming renewable energies? What are the renewable energy power plants that have been procured under independent power plant framework? The economics of renewable energy power plant procured under IPP framework. Key focus areas to make renewable energy IPPs more effective, and concluding remarks. The key drivers, I think His Excellency Dr. Mirza has covered some items here. Fulfill the renewable energy targets. Each of the 6 countries in the Gulf region are having renewable energy targets. For example, Bahrain is having a medium-term target as well as a long-term target. The only difference amongst these countries of these 6 countries is some of the renewable energy targets are based on installed power capacity, and some countries the target is based on percentage of generation. For Bahrain, it is based on percentage of installed capacity. Like His Excellency Dr. Mirza highlighted, I think Bahrain is going in the right track of achieving its target by 2025, 5% target. And 2035 target, I think, is a bit long way to go. This is the targets of Bahrain. On the left side, you see the medium-term target, and on the right side, you see the long-term target. In terms of installed power capacity, it is 255 megawatt. It is 5% of the peak demand. And in terms of consumption, it is around 2% per year. The next key driver is reduce the growth in primary energy consumption. If you see the primary energy consumption in the Middle East countries, it has been increasing at the rate of 8.3% per year for the 2 decades from 1996 to 2015. If we keep on increasing like that, we will be reaching a tipping point, in my opinion, wherein the demand, internal demand, will be quite huge, which will put further stress on their highly what you call oil and gas reserves. Ensure energy security. The GCC region, as you all know, is sitting on a gold mine, which is like a black gold mine. If you see the graph, for example, oil reserves, the GCC countries, approximately 29% of the oil reserves is in the GCC countries. And the gas reserves, around 22% of the gas reserves are in the GCC countries. But there are significant challenges. If you go to the next table on the right side, it shows each country and it shows the reserves to production ratio for oil and gas. This reserves to production ratio does not include some of the recent discoveries, gas recoveries of Bahrain. So if you see the reserves to production ratio, some of the countries may soon be importing gas. For example, Bahrain is already building one liquefied natural gas terminal. So the sooner we invest on renewable energy, the better it is for the GCC countries, especially Bahrain and Oman. As a potential strategy to address demand variations, like His Excellency Dr. Nawaf has presented in his graph, the duck curve. Means he has shown the duck curve for the summer months, the diurnal variation, how the load varies during the summer month for a typical day. The left side shows the typical summer load variation, whereas the right side shows the typical winter day variation. If you see the difference between the summer and winter, the summer peak load is around 3,400, whereas the winter peak load is only 1,100 megawatt. So if you see these two graphs, you can get an idea how the power plants are utilized over the period of 365 days. The utilization factor is hardly 60% in the Middle East countries. So if we have renewable energy power plants which cater to future demand, future increases in installed capacity, this duck curve can be flattened a little bit. To be ready in a changing market environment, like Dr. Nawaf mentioned, you cannot use a dress which you wore 20-25 years back. So the market environment now is changing towards net zero, or it is carbon-free energy. For example, if you open any magazine nowadays, it talks about net zero or carbon-free energy. So we have seen the context why renewable energy is important for Gulf countries. Let us see the strategies being adopted. The Gulf countries are going for two strategies. One is the supply side strategy, which is installing utility scale renewable energy power plants using public-private partnership, using public-private procurement, PPAs, public power purchase agreements. Then we have demand side strategies wherein you have feed-in tariffs. Demand side strategies are more onto the consumer side. Means the consumer is involved in these strategies. For example, it can be in the form of a feed-in tariff. It was extensively used in Germany. Net metering, it is being used in Bahrain, or it is like wheeling, it is being used in Jordan. Renewable energy certificates, they are being used in the Western world, or capacity building. So my presentation is going to be on the supply side strategies. So how the GCC countries are going in for mainstreaming the renewable energy is through this public-private partnership program, which is a long-term contract between a private party and a government entity. The private party is the expert in providing utility services, be it water, electricity, or sewage treatment, whatever it is. So they take significant amount of risk, and the government pays to the private party a remuneration for his services. Why people are opting for PPP contract is because of the efficiencies. The efficiencies are there are 5 or 6 different types of efficiencies are there. The cost management, the life cycle management, reliability and effectiveness, innovation, risk management, and utilization. GCC countries have vast experience in using PPP contracts, especially when it is used for procuring a power plant. It is called as Independent Power Producer Contracting Framework. For example, in Bahrain, we have Alizal Power Plant. It is a standalone power plant. Whereas if you go to Adur, it is called as Independent Water and Power Producer because it is producing water and electricity together. The degree and extent of PPP contract usage varies from country to country. For example, in Oman, the PP, once the project is developed, the project company has to offload some of its shares into the share market listed in the Omani share exchange, stock exchange. If it is UAE, 60% of the project company ownership is normally taken by Dubai Electricity and Water Authority or Abu Dhabi Electricity and Water Company. Oman was the first country in GCC to use the PPP contract to award a power plant, which is Al Mana Power Plant in 1996. Let us see what renewable energy power plants have been procured in GCC countries under the IPP framework. It started in 2015, very recently, only 5 years, but there has been substantial progress. This figure highlights to you the renewable energy power plants that have been procured in the GCC by technology. A vast majority is based on solar photovoltaic. 86% of the renewable energy power plants have been procured using solar photovoltaic. Around 9% concentrated solar power, around 5% wind. The total that has been procured based on my available knowledge is around 8,282 megawatt. And let us see the country-wise breakup, how the different countries of GCC are performing in procuring renewable energy power plants using the IPP framework. UAE is leading the pack. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are close to one another, 3,000 megawatt each. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman are close to one another, and Bahrain is 100 megawatt. Okay. Now we have seen that renewable energy power plants are increasingly being procured under IPP framework. Let us see the differences between renewable energy and fossil fuel IPPs. If you see, the first point is power generation. In renewable energy IPP, the power generation is intermittent. It depends on seasonality, time of the day. Whereas fossil fuel IPP, it is continuous. So fossil fuel, I think the current generation mix, fossil fuels can be used for base load, and renewable energy IPPs can be used for peak loads. Dispatchability, it is no. You cannot, power plant cannot be operated on demand, whereas fossil fuel can be operated on demand. Tariff, the tariff is single part tariff in renewable energy IPP, whereas it is a two-part tariff in fossil fuel. It depends on, one is capacity tariff, other one is output tariff. The project documentation and implementation timelines are slightly simpler and shorter because there is no fuel supply agreement required in renewable energy IPPs. Capacity utilization factor, it is between 20 to 40%. The recent IPPs are achieving something like 26%, 27% by using bifacial solar panels or sun tracking solar panels, sun tracking systems. And if it is wind, it can reach up to 40%. In case of fossil fuel IPP, it is 90%. The levelized cost of energy varies for both the systems. The levelized cost of energy depends on many factors. The first one is incentives given by the government, free land, or guarantees given by the government, off-taker credit risk, credit worthiness, risk distribution, who takes what quantity of risk, project size, project complexity. For example, Bahrain is building the solar PV plant on Askar landfill, like Dr. Mirza explained to us. So in such a project, the costing will be little higher. Project location, how far the project is from the grid, PPA duration, what is the length of the PPA. This is an interesting slide which shows to you what is the cost of energy that is coming out of renewable energy power plants. As you can see, not long ago in 2015, for a 200 megawatt power plant, solar PV power plant, it was 5.85 cents, 22 fills, and it has come down to, I can't see this, but it has come down substantially. So you can just imagine how the prices have reduced. So from 2015 to 2020, the prices have reduced by around 75 to 80%. Only the thing different is the size. It was previously 200 megawatt. It has increased to 2000 megawatt. And this is the levelized cost of energy for the other renewable energy technologies. This is for concentrated solar power. This is again in Mohammed bin Rashid Park in Dubai, which is around 27.6 fills for 700 megawatt plant. And the other one is for wind, which is 7.5 fills. The key focus areas to make renewable energy IPPs more effective is we have to specify minimum capacity utilization factors so that the utility service providers get the maximum out of the IPPs. And contracted capacity has also to be specified, because sometimes in winter they may be producing more than the nameplate. So the grid operator need to be conscious about this disparity. Other thing which needs to be taken care is integrating energy storage. This has been done in many places. In India, I have one example here. It was awarded in 2020, February 2020. It is a solar PV of 300 megawatt and 600 megawatt hour storage. And what they specify is they have to supply power during the peak hours. The peak hours have been specified during two durations, morning 3 hours, evening 3 hours. And the tariff is different for the two periods, 6.85 Indian National Rupees or 36 fills in the peak hours and 15 fills during the non-peak hour. Here, the developer has the incentive to supply more and more power during the peak time. So the utility service provider also benefits. The distribution company also benefits, and the developer also benefits. Another thing is it has been specified that it needs to have a guaranteed capacity utilization factor of 34%.
Apologies,
So if we have
running low on time.
Yeah. So broadening renewable energy portfolio, if we can diversify from, let's say now around 80% is solar PV, if we can get into more solar thermal or wind, it would be good. And supply side strategies and demand side strategies have to move hand in hand. Like His Excellency Dr. Mirza explained, the supply side alone cannot meet the renewable energy targets. Demand side has to go hand in hand so that both the sides of the equation are balanced. Market listing of renewable energy IPPs shall increase the transparency and public participation. If you see in Bahrain, there is one port developed, which is by the name APM Terminals on PPA framework. Sorry, public-private participation framework. It is one of the best performing stocks in Bahrain bourse. So the Bahraini public also are investing heavily in such investments. Sharing of carbon credits. If there are any carbon credits emanating from renewable energy IPPs, that will be also have to be addressed upfront. As a potential strategy for replacement of retiring fossil fuel-based IPPs, like Dr. Nawaf mentioned in his presentation, like Sitra power station is being retired or Rifa power station is being retired. Probably you can think of using renewable energy IPPs to be used in place of retiring fuel-based power plants. Concluding remarks, I think if we use the framework smartly, we can achieve the renewable energy targets. And the second most important thing is renewable energy as the principal source of energy in place of fossil fuel. Means now what will happen is the delta, as Dr. Mirza presented, the peak demand is reducing over the years. It's not ramping up. So if we are going to play it smart, renewable energy power plants can be used as peaking power plants. Obviously, there will be monetary savings, and they also contribute to a cleaner and greener environment. And this is what Thomas Edison said in 1931. I would have put my money on the sun and solar energy. What a source of power. I hope we don't have to wait until oil and coal run out before we tackle that. This he commented in 1931. We are in 2011 now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ram, for a very interesting presentation.